Hey everybody, it's Dr. V. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to do a different reading today. This is the So You Got Ghosted reading, and we're going to find out what is going on. So this is for those of you whose love interest has just stopped talking to you. Maybe they blocked you. Maybe they just ghosted you and you haven't heard from them. One day logged on to social media and they had unfriended you and they're not talking to you and you're just like, what the heck is going on? So that's what this reading is going to be. It's going to be probably about 20 minutes. And if you all like it, I'll add it to my reading list and put it in my store. So thank you all for being here. Thanks for your love and support, for your energy exchange donations, for all the comments and feedback. I appreciate you all. Spirit, please use me as a clear channel for communication. May the messages that come through be in the highest good of all those concerned. I draw a sacred circle around this space, setting my ego to the outside. And I call upon my guides, angels, ancestors, higher wisdom to be with me, protect this space, guide these messages. May they be in the highest good of all those concerned. And so it is. So today I'm using a different deck, and I may be using this a little bit more this month because it's, October, and I'm a huge fan of Halloween, but this is the Phantasmagoria deck by Ian Daniels. And so we're going to just jump in and let's see what the heck is going on. So if your counterpart ghosted you, let's see why. What the heck is going on? Why did they ghost you? So I'll show you. We've got the Two of Scepters in reverse. Oh, the Wheel of Fortune. And the Empress in reverse. Very interesting. So the first thing that comes through with this Two of Scepters, this is what would be the equivalent of wands in the traditional tarot. So this is about somebody who is, in many ways, kind of struggling to get started, trying to find their way, trying to find a path. This is someone who feels it's an energy of conflict, of destruction, almost even like war and tyranny kind of energy. This is very aggressive, very arrogant kind of person, maybe some overblown egoism. Someone who just can't admit that they're wrong. Someone who can't admit that they may have done things that they shouldn't have done. Somebody who has a hard time owning up for their behavior. They can't humble themselves and say, maybe I did this wrong, or maybe I made some mistakes. And so it feels like instead of owning up to whatever was going on, maybe they weren't being honest with you. Maybe they hadn't acted with integrity. And so instead of saying that, hey, I just, I kind of screwed up here and I didn't handle this right and things were not, I didn't do this the right way. Instead of doing that and handling it with courage and integrity, it was easier just to run. It was easier just to run away from you and pretend like the situation wasn't anything. Okay, so that's really why. It's like they're too stubborn, too much pride, too much inability to be able to tell the truth and face the consequences. So really was kind of a cowardice kind of move. They just didn't have that willingness to own up to their stuff. So we have the Fortune card, which is like change, cycles. The Wheel of Fortune spins all the time. Sometimes it lands on and you get, good fortune, you get good things. Sometimes it lands and you get negative things. But this is definitely talking about fate. So it was actually fated for them to ghost you at this point. It was necessary. The thing of it is that for a lot of people that don't understand the real true dynamics of a twin flame connection, oftentimes twin flame, soulmate, divine counterpart, sacred sidekick, whatever language works for you. You all know I'm not a big fan of labels. However you understand it, though, is that sometimes that separation is necessary because it rips you down to the core. It hurt, that depth of pain impacts you in ways that not much else can. And so sometimes it's necessary to have these separation periods so people can really dig in deep and get reconnected with spirit and get reconnected with their soul and who they are at a core level. So this was fated. It was meant for it to happen this way, for you to come together and to come apart. That was necessary. So part of the reason they behaved the way that they did was because that's what spirit was almost instructing them to do, because they needed to have this experience. Both people needed to have this experience. Both people needed it to grow. If you have been in separation, if you've been ghosted or you've been blocked and you've been struggling a lot, it's really important that you do the healing work in this time to be able to move through that energy, because that's why it's happening, for you to be able to see what it is that you need to heal. So we have the Empress in reverse, and this deck depicts the reverse as the shadow side, which I really love, because y'all know I love discussing and talking about the shadow aspect of things. A lot of people run from shadow. They run from what people might consider like the darker energies, but those are actually really positive and some of our most vibrant aspects of humanity. So I don't run from the shadow. But this is definitely about someone who has no empathy, okay? The Empress is very nurturing, very compassionate, very caring. In reverse, it's somebody who's lost empathy, who's out of touch with their soul, who is not acting in good faith or even in harmony with what their soul is wanting. It's definitely somebody who's just really out of touch with their humanity. Honestly, that's what it's like. They're not feeling the humanity. They're not, if they were in touch with their compassion, with their empathy, they would know how harmful it is to just ghost somebody, especially if you're in a situation where they're, the message has been like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. You're everything I've always wanted. Everything, this is great. And then, you have a falling out or something happens and then they cut you off and just stop talking to you. Like, that's very, very harmful. And a person who's in touch with their compassion, their humanity, would never do that to another person. And so what all of this is saying to me is that right now, the person that you're listening to this reading for is someone who's really out of touch with their soul. They're just not connected in that way. They're really trapped in this ego, and being trapped in the ego is keeping them separate from their soul and from doing the right thing, doing the thing that they should be doing. I don't like should. Doing the right thing, doing the thing that their soul is prompting them to do. So I'm going to move these aside a little bit, and I'm just going to pull an oracle from the Halloween oracle. I just got this deck this week because, like I said, it's Halloween this month, and I freaking love Halloween. My little people and I decorated our house already. We're having a party. It's gonna be fun. So I'm gonna just pull one additional message about why they ghosted. Wow, death. Again, look at that. We have two cycle cards right next to each other. It's part of the cycle. It's part of what needed to happen. There was some kind of ego death that needs to happen. There's transformation that needs to happen. This separation period if you have been doing your work, you're probably very aware of the pains that you've carried from the past and the unconscious material you've been working through. Maybe you've been working through any limiting beliefs or behaviors of yourself, making some lifestyle changes. That's what needed to happen. Okay, this was just something that had to happen. This reminds me of the Silence of the Lambs, by the way, which I think I referenced last week, so maybe I need to watch it again. But this is definitely the end of a cycle. There were some cycles that needed to happen, some things that needed to end. Every ending is another beginning. So something they just had to happen this way. They needed to go their own way. You need to go your own way, and things needed to be the way that they are currently. So what is it that they're hiding from you? So we've got the Nine of Skulls in reverse, the Four of Skulls, and the Daughter of Skulls. Wow, that's a lot of skulls here. That's all pentacles. It's all pentacles here. That would be pentacles in the traditional tarot. So what I'm getting from this is that they're hiding from you material stuff. This is stuff that they're trying to conceal in this physical reality. That's why they ghosted you. That's why they blocked you. They don't want you to see things that are happening in their world. They're trying to keep you in the dark about it, literally, because that's what's going to serve them. They don't want you. Part of it is that they don't feel good enough. They don't feel like they have what it takes, and they feel vulnerable about that. They are trying to hide this insecurity that they feel, or not having enough, or maybe they presented this image of who they are and the kind of person that they are, and then you find out that they're not that they're anything but that, or you could if you got to know them a little bit further. So I watched a movie last weekend that had that theme in it, where somebody kind of presented themselves one way, and then that wasn't really who they were, and so then of course they had to reap the consequences for that. But this is what this is. They're deceiving you. What are they hiding is that they're being deceptive. They've been deceptive about things for quite a while, actually, is what I'm getting. And it could have to do again with them just not wanting to know you, not wanting you to know the real them. But it could be that there are things that they've been hiding, financial issues, mental health issues, relationship, third party situation. There's just something that they are trying to keep you from finding out. So we have the Four of Skulls here, which is a card of, it's about it's powerful. In this deck, this is about being in a powerful state, also being defensive. It can also, again, this card is a indicator of security, confidence, stability, structure. This is about somebody who's trying to hold on to their power. So part of why they ghosted you and what they're trying to hide is that they want to hold power. Okay, it could be like a power hungry kind of thing. Maybe they have, maybe they're trying to compensate for these insecurities by trying to assert their power and their will. Because ghosting really is sort of a controlling thing. It doesn't allow people to have closure and to process. So it's a way of stonewalling. We talk about this in mental health, especially when dealing with abusive personalities, that there's this tactic that it's called stonewalling, and it's where people just refuse to communicate. They just won't say anything. So you'll see that often with people who, where you're trying to have a conversation and they'll just sit there and they'll cross their arms and just not say anything. It's a way of controlling. It's like they might think that they might say, well, I just don't have anything to say. But it's literally a way of controlling the situation. And that's what this feels like to me. And they're trying to assert their power and control the situation by not speaking. It's like by just leaving you hanging, they have essentially just taken your okay, now let me rephrase that, because they can't take anything from you, but they're trying to take your ability to achieve closure. Now, you can achieve closure with or without somebody. You don't have to have a conversation. The reality is that closure is an inside job anyway, but it is like they're trying to keep some power over you by not talking, because then it keeps you wondering. They think they feel like it will keep you wondering about them, and that it's kind of like a hook, okay? So we have the Daughter of Skulls, which is interesting, because this card in this deck talks about being abundant, life enriching. It's like fertility, warmth, beauty, feeling inspired and sensual. I almost get that this could be that part of what they're trying to hide from you is that maybe there is a third party in the situation that they don't want you to know about. So maybe they ghosted you and there's some other person in the picture. Maybe they even have a counterpart person in their life. If your counterpart is, well, it doesn't necessarily, I was going to say that, but it does. I was going to gender something that doesn't need to be gendered. It could be that they have a counterpart or person in their life that's actually pregnant, or they're trying to get pregnant, or there was a pregnancy and that was why they ghosted you. Maybe maybe somebody, they had a fling, or somebody got pregnant and that's when they ghosted you, because they felt like, well, I can't tell my counterpart that. I can't come to my twin or my soulmate and say, oh, and by the way, I got so-and-so pregnant, or, my ex-partner's pregnant, and, whatever. It could be that. I've never read that card that way, but that certainly could be what's going on. So that could be what they're hiding. Interesting. And again, this is a general reading. It doesn't have to apply to everybody. So please don't, if it doesn't apply to your situation, try not to get too freaked out about it. Try not to get triggered by these readings, okay? And then a message from, interesting, eternal love. This is what they're trying to hide. Love is love is love, and it transcends physical death. So I do get that people that I'm channeling right now, that there is definitely a third party in the situation. There is, I say definitely, but more than likely a third party in the situation. This is somebody who they may have had a long connection with. They may have known each other for quite a while, but there is another person I'm getting from this situation that is present, and that's part of why they ghosted you, is because this other person is still around in some way. So what is their secret? What's the secret that they... Ooh, interesting. The Ace of Scepters, the Two of Knives, and the Lovers in reverse. Wow. So we've got the Ace of Scepters, which is the Ace of Wands. This is about spiritual power and fulfillment. What their secret right now, their core kind of deep secret, not what this is what they were hiding. This is sort of like what they're keeping secret, this hidden aspect of themselves, is that they did experience this mega surge of vitality and spiritual passion with you. It gave them the sense of like exuberance and willingness to like go forward and feel like things are possible. It's but it was a very new thing. It's not something, I don't get that it had a chance, or they didn't give it a chance to go very far. They did feel it. They did feel this spiritual quickening and enlightenment and wanting to go in that direction, but they didn't allow it to happen because they went into this Two of Knives energy, which is the Two of Swords in the traditional tarot, which is, of course, that being at odds mentally, having mentally conflicting thoughts. So this is about being mentally stressed, being tormented. There's discord. There's like negative atmosphere. This can be like someone being in a stalemate, being contradictory. This could be somebody who's like a hypocrite. Okay, this could be somebody who maybe on one side is talking all about positivity and love, light, and unicorns. But on the inside, they're really not that. They really don't feel that, or they're kind of living at odds, okay? So there's some kind of energy there. They're really they're really doing their best right now to keep blocking you out. That's the secret, that their deep core secret is that they still feel this vitality. They still feel this spiritual pull towards you, and they're really, really trying to block it out. They're deceiving themselves. It's like, you probably heard this before, but it's just what came to mind. It's like, congratulations, you played yourself. They're literally playing themselves right now. They're telling themselves that they don't believe it. They're telling themselves that this was nothing, that it was just in their imagination. They're really trying to block this out because it's something that is difficult for them to understand. Because again, if it was so wonderful, why did they leave? And they're trying to understand, like, why would I walk away from something so amazing? They don't even understand what the hell they're doing right now. It's kind of funny actually, because I'm tapping into this energy and it feels very confused. So this is the shadows, that there's this lack of unity. Again, there's this division that's going on. They're not united on the internal. They're at odds with themselves. On the one hand, they want to go one way. On the other hand, they want to go another way. There are things that they need to reconcile, things that they need to come to peace with. They need to make amends, okay? Part of what's keeping them stuck right now is that they need to make amends in this situation. It's like you simply cannot be a spiritual person who is not living in integrity and not living in compassion and empathy and feel okay about it. You just can't, because if you're a spiritual person, that isn't going to feel aligned. It's not going to feel right. You're not going to be okay with it. You're not going to be at peace. And they're lacking this inner unity right now. They're not feeling good about things. There's choices that need to be made, difficult choices that need to be made, and they're avoiding them like hell right now because it's just not something they want to do. So their secret, Lady de los Muertos. It says acceptance and equality. Again, they realize that they didn't act in accepting or equal ways. They might have been really, well, of course, if they ghosted you, that's just a shitty energy anyway. And so they are understanding, like on a soul level, that how they behaved, what they did, the treatment that they gave you was unfair. You didn't deserve it. It's not aligned with their own integrity. They know it was wrong, but they also are not ready to accept that they did that there's a piece of them that's not really ready to accept that and to own their behavior and try to reach a state of equality and balance. They're just not quite there yet. So what is their fear? So we've got the World, the Three of Knives, and Justice in reverse. Of course they're afraid of that. So the World, interesting. We got two major arcanas here. So there's some big fears, okay? There's some big fears. They're hiding from their own shadow right now. So part of what they fear in the World is this like letting cycles end. The World is the end of cycles. The zero at the beginning, the Fool is the beginning of the major arcana, and the World is the final card. It's the end. Again, we have the Wheel of Fortune. I think we had a Death card earlier. So it's really about letting cycles come to an end. They're really struggling with that. Okay, it's like really letting themselves come into a space of wholeness and integration and fullness and being balanced is what they want, but they're afraid of it. They're afraid of that because then, of course, that means that there's some things that they're going to have to make amends with. They're going to have to get right with. They're going to have to correct and make some path changes. And that's something that is like, it feels good, right? It's that sort of thing that people always want to be. They say that they want to be in alignment with their integrity and doing the right thing, but understanding that it requires changes in behaviors and so on and so forth. It can be a little bit, it's a little bit more challenging when you're actually doing it, when you're actually applying it. So, they're afraid of letting things complete and move into a space of wholeness. They're a little bit afraid of getting into this connecting with their spirit, because it's like if they do, they're going to have to reckon. There's going to be a reckoning. They're afraid of this Three of Knives. This is a Three of Swords in the traditional tarot. It is heartbreak. It's devastation. It can be an energy of betrayal as well. You know, it's a three swords stabbing through the heart. They're afraid to learn the lessons from pain. So I get that this is a person who may go from like person to person, like the serial monogamist, or even not as monogamous. Maybe they're not monogamous at all. But the person that goes from like relationship to relationship to relationship and never takes the time to heal and learn from their lessons. It's like they're almost afraid to be alone and take the time to learn the lessons that they need to learn, because being alone is when you have to face your loneliness and face your stuff, right? And so a lot of people avoid that. I mean, it's pretty common actually for people to avoid being alone, but this is definitely like they're afraid of being hurt, and they're afraid of learning the lessons and and integrating the wisdom that they need to go forward in life. And then we have Justice in reverse. This is like literally they're afraid of sorry, too many messages. Let me slow it down. It's like the messages are just coming through like this. So this is about treating people poorly. They are afraid of the fact that they have treated people poorly and done things in the past that they shouldn't have done. And so it's they understand that there's some karma, that some seeds that they've sown that haven't been great. So it's saying that they are afraid to really look, again, sort of like this, look back at their past actions and take accountability and make amends for the ways in which they've wronged people. That is something that they're really trying to, they're afraid of, because it's that energy of facing yourself is sometimes the hardest journey, right? Getting honest with yourself is really, you learn things about yourself that you may not like so much. And that's something that they're afraid of, something that they're avoiding right now. And look at that, the Skull of Darkness, blind spots. They're afraid to look at their blind spots. They're afraid to look at the things that they've been doing, the ways in which they've been behaving that have been holding them back and have caused harm to other people. They're really afraid of facing that because they know that it's going to be a difficult thing to deal with. So what is their secret desire? So we've got Death in reverse, the Daughter of Knives in reverse, and the Six of Knives. Interesting. So their secret desire is to let these cycles come to an end. Death in reverse is about letting, stopping. It's like letting go of the resistance to letting something go, letting something die. So there is this part of them that really does want to have these cycles come to an end. Their secret desire is to have this transformation happen. It's like they're afraid of it, but they kind of want it. They're afraid of taking this like deep dive into the shadow, into accepting that all things come to an end. They're afraid of facing the grief and the pain of their losses from the past and the ways that they've hurt other people. Part of why they are blocking this connection is because they'd have to face that. They'd have to face that they hurt you, that they caused pain, that they caused harm. And they don't want to face it. It's easier to just put on a blindfold and walk through their life right now than it is to take accountability and ownership for what they've done. This can be part of this is that they are, like I said earlier, that they're trying to keep the tie to you. They're kind of trying to drag out the situation by not giving you answers or giving you closure or giving you, I mean, shit, sometimes people even hold on to possessions. Like I've known people that have done that where they're like, they'll ghost somebody and then they'll have some of their possessions. Okay. I had an ex that did that to me, by the way. This was like years ago, but he had borrowed a pair of my Kate Spade sunglasses and never gave them back. Ass. But that part of that is how people hold on to things, is like they might not give you back the books they borrowed or possessions that you left at their house or whatever it might be. And so it's definitely like part of that is holding on to things so that then you have a reason to continue contacting them. Then you have a reason to continue reaching out. And so that's part of what they're doing here is trying to drag this out and keep this connection to you. Because that's the only way that they know how. It's very immature. It's not very healthy, but that's what they're doing. So we have the Daughter of Knives in reverse, which is an energy of, kind of looks like, to me, kind of reminds me of like, what was her name? Kurt Cobain's ex-wife, Courtney Love. Kind of reminds me of Courtney Love in the 90s. Anyway, this is they have some revenge desires here. Okay, they kind of want to get revenge. That's a secret desire that they're not telling you about, or obviously. And part of this is about revenge. Part of this is about getting revenge and punishing you. This is about keeping you hurt. This is about keeping you stuck. They are destructive right now. They may be, yeah, that's the energy. It's like they just want to hurt you. They just want some kind of revenge. It's like they feel like maybe you've done something to them that was wrong. They feel like you wronged them in some way. And so part of this ghosting is about getting revenge. It's about hurting you. In the only way that they know how, which is to not give you the closure that they think that, that you're waiting for, or that you are waiting for. So the other thing is that it's interesting because this is a card in this particular deck about confusion, not having an understanding of something, being unclear in your thoughts, not having the wisdom, having difficulty moving on, feeling held back. Literally what I'm getting is that why they're doing this, their secret desire is to keep you confused. It is to keep you from being able to move forward. As long as they don't give you a clear answer, you might stay stuck. And that's actually what they're counting on. That's actually what they want, is for you to remain stuck so that they can feel more powerful about things. And their secret desires creating through the ashes. They really do, on a certain level, like there's this vengeful kind of stuff, this like, I want to hurt you, I want to make you feel bad. And that's sort of 3D, that ego that came up earlier, that's that kind of energy. Their spiritual self, the wiser spiritual self, actually wants to be able to create some beauty from this mess that they've created. They're just physically not in a space where they're ready to do that. So how do you achieve closure in this situation? So we've got the 4 of Grails, the 6 of Scepters in reverse. and the Seven of Scepters in reverse. So the Four of Grails is like, in the traditional tarot, this is the Grails or the Cups. The Four of Cups is about this missed opportunity. It's feeling like maybe I got what I wanted and it isn't what I wanted after all. So this is a card about how do you get closure, is to get into a space of emotional abundance on your own, where you really release the need to have that closure, where you really release, where you understand that you may not get the closure that you want. They may never come to you and give you the answers that you want. And so you have to release that and let yourself be contented and be happy and be in abundance and bliss, no matter what it is that they are, no matter what it is that happened with them. So this is about releasing the past, letting it go, and finding a way to create abundance and contentment and peace and joy in your life, regardless of what happened with that person. So it's saying, can you release them? Can you let them go without having that final sense of closure? Oftentimes people don't ever get closure, and you just have to be able to say, okay, it's time to move on. Even without having the answers that I would like or the things that I would like to have, I need to be able to find that contentment and that peace within, no matter what happens with this person. You've got to let go of the feelings of defeat and dissatisfaction. You've got to let go of any low self-esteem that came as a result of this. If somebody ghosted you, it isn't about you, okay? That's not to say that you didn't contribute in some way. Maybe you did some things that contributed to them ghosting. Maybe you lashed out or didn't behave in totally divine ways. If that's true, then it's up to you to make your own peace with that. But if a person just ghosts you out of nowhere and you didn't do anything and they just kind of, came into your life and then disappeared and didn't even say goodbye or just like moved on and blocked you, whatever, that says a lot about them. That says a lot about their level of maturity, and you can't internalize somebody else's behavior towards you as an indictment about who you are as an individual. This is something that they need to own. This is their behavior that they need to check, because decent people, good people, don't just hurt people unnecessarily, okay? A decent person is going to say to a person that they've had intimate connections with, I'm taking ownership and I take responsibility, and they're not going to just disappear and hurt you. They're going to say goodbye and behave with integrity. And so if you've internalized their behavior as some kind of failure or some kind of, if only I were this or that or the other, they wouldn't have done this. That's not true. You got to release that energy and move on and move forward with your own peace. We have the Seven of Scepters, which is about, this is a card of cowardice, being timid, feeling weak, feeling indecisive, hesitant, feeling like resigned to your fate. Okay, so this is what this is saying to me, is that part of the way you will get closure is by releasing that. It's like you've been holding on, been afraid to move on, afraid to let go, afraid to take steps forward because you're thinking like, well, maybe I'll never find somebody else, or there's some kind of story that you're telling yourself about yourself as a result of this connection that is keeping you stuck. It's time to make a decision and don't hesitate. If this person has ghosted you and you haven't heard from them and they've blocked you, don't sit around waiting for them to come around. Don't live your life in pause and hesitating to move forward because you think there might be a chance. Sure, there could be a chance at some point, but do you really want to spend the rest of your life or the next 6 months or 6 years or whatever waiting for this person to come around when they've blocked you or ghosted you? Or do you want to go ahead and live your best life and get into that space of contentment and bliss and indulgence and feeling great and living your best life regardless of what happens? And then if they come back, cool. If they come back in 6 months and you're like, you have space in your life for them and you want to invite them back in, great, that's your choice. But it's not, I don't feel like it's what Spirit is saying is it's not in your best interest to continue hesitating and waiting. And so call upon your ancestors. This says how to get closure, love and legacy in our DNA. This is what I get from this is like calling on your ancestors, tapping into that ancestral wisdom. That's always beneficial. It's also to recognize that true soul-based connections well, they're always going to be here. You're always going to be connected. And if you don't get it right this lifetime, you'll try again next lifetime. And so recognizing that separation is an illusion, that all of those things they are what they are. Right? We're always connected. We're always going to be one with our soulmate, with our twins. This is also about saying, look, understand that you're ready to step into your birthright. Okay, so there's this quote. It's one of my favorites, and it's you often see it in social justice communities, but it says we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. It's like, look at your life right now. Start living the life that your ancestors worked so hard to get you to. Okay, you think about, you're standing on the shoulders of giants right now. Your ancestors, the people who came before you, all the things that they've done, all the strides that they've made, all the efforts that they've done to bring you to this point in life. Don't squander that. Take advantage of it and go on and live and live the life that you will be in your, the ancestors' wildest dreams, that you're creating a legacy so that when you are the ancestor, when you're the elder, that people will look at you and see this is a person who knew how to live and who knew how to take their power and create their own contentment and live their own life regardless of the circumstances around them. So I hope that this reading helped. It went a little bit longer than I was planning, as usual, but please let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk with you all soon. Take care. Bye.